This is episode 19 on wisdom. This is our 31-day journey through the book of Proverbs. We're taking a chapter a day. And today is chapter 22. This is the chapter that Solomon begins to highlight 30 different sayings from wise people. Proverbs 22, verse 6 may be a familiar verse to you. He says, "Start children off in the way they should go, and even when they are old, they will not turn from it." Solomon says back in chapter 13, he says, don't withhold the rod of correction. Don't withhold discipline in your children. Now, this whole idea of discipline and the whole idea of correcting and instructing our children, Solomon is saying is that wise parents will embrace a healthy form of discipline when it comes to their children. Now, the Bible never condones child abuse. That spanking a child out of anger or being upset is never in order. Every child, again, remember, it responds to correction differently. And they respond to discipline and correction differently. So Proverbs refers to this rod, but I want you to think of that rod as a shepherd's rod or a shepherd's staff, and how the shepherd guided the sheep along the path with his staff or with his rod. That this rod became a focus point for the sheep to one, grab its attention and also be able to direct it. The focus is not necessarily on the form of correction as much as it is on some kind of discipline is in order and good for your child. That it's going to hurt the child in the future if you withhold discipline, if you just let them go and do not do some form of giving them guidance. It's going to hurt them. It's going to hurt their future. Children need guidance. And the question should be is, how can I help my child form good habits, good behaviors that's actually going to help them in their future, that's going to contribute to them growing up and learning how to live a disciplined life that's actually going to help them make wise choices for their life. He says in verse 9, "The generous will themselves be blessed, for they share their food with the poor." That Solomon is saying is that the wise know that there are benefits and blessings to live a generous life. And in verse 13, he says, "The sluggard says, 'There's a lion outside. I'll be killed in the public square.'" He is saying that a lazy person will always find excuses or reasons to not take action. In this proverb, it's fearing the danger or the threat. But when Jesus gave the parable in his time, he was saying with the wise servants, they actually took what they were supposed to do and they multiplied, and they began to bring interest to what was given to them. So when the master came back or the boss came back, they were able to say, "Hey, look, I turned your $5 into $50. And it was the foolish servant, the lazy servant, that took what his boss gave him and he hid it in the ground. And the Bible says that he feared the expectations of his boss. And so when the boss came back, he unburied it and gave him exactly what his boss gave him. And his boss said to him, he says, "You wicked and lazy servant, if you knew that my expectations were here, at least you could have put it in the bank and you could have drawn interest on that money. But you are foolish and wicked." Now, the motivation out of that was the servant feared something. And the lazy person will always make an excuse or always fear something that will prevent them or paralyze them from actually taking action. In the next section of this chapter, Solomon begins to share 30 different sayings from wise people. He says in verse 17, "Pay attention and turn your ear to the sayings of the wise. Apply your heart to what I teach, for it is pleasing when you keep them in your heart and have all of them ready on your lips, so that your trust may be in the Lord. And I teach you today, even you. Have I not written 30 sayings for you, sayings of counsel and knowledge, teaching you to be honest and to speak the truth, so that you bring back truthful reports to those you serve?" Solomon is saying that I'm going to give you 30 different sayings that have impacted other people's lives. And they're actually sharing these principles of wisdom so that your life can be benefited as well. He says that these sayings are not just random sayings. It's not just a piece of literature. These are actually teaching. They are actually going to teach your life something. They're going to impart something to you. They're going to help you to turn your ear and apply your heart to what I'm giving you and what these principles are. And if you do, you'll be able to trust the Lord And these principles are going to teach you to be honest, and they're going to teach you what to speak and how to speak. The third wise saying is found in verse 24 and 25. And he says, do not make friends with a hot-tempered person. Do not associate with one easily angered, or you may learn their ways and get yourself ensnared. Solomon is saying that it is not wise for us to make friends or to hang out with someone who is easily angered or has bitterness in their heart. Like people who are easily angered, there's a root of bitterness that's there. An offense has taken place, and there is not healing that has taken place in their life yet. And so they're constantly easily angered. They're on edge about something. He says, don't hang out with them. Don't make friends with them, because they're going to affect you, that you will end up picking up their offense, that this will be a trap. Their life is ensnared. Sometimes they don't even realize it, but they're limited. There's limits on their life because of this bitterness, because of this anger that's going on in their life, that it's placed limitations. And he says, this will ensnare your life, and limitations will be put on your life as well. He also gives a similar principle in verse 5, and he says, it is wise to discern the connections and friendships in our life, that wise people choose very carefully who they hang with. Out of the 30 wise sayings, saying 6 is found in the last verse of this chapter, verse 29. Do you see someone skilled in their work? They will serve before kings, and they will not serve before officials of low rank. That Solomon is saying that wise people know to do things in an excellent way, that whatever your hand finds to do it with your full best. That doing your best, learning how to sharpen your skills, constantly improving your skills, is a wise thing to do, because it's going to open doors for you. Colossians chapter 3, verse 23 even says, whatever you do it with all of your heart, as you're working for God and not just for humans. Like if we will have that mindset, that whatever we do, we're going to do our best as if we're presenting it to God. And if we'll have that kind of a mindset, we will do things in an excellent way, and eventually doors will open, favor will be given, and God will promote you where you need to be promoted. My prayer today is that we gain the wisdom from chapter 22. And there's no doubt in my mind, I can sense and feel that God is showing us principles for our life that's helping us to make wise choices. And I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that the blessings of God, the favor of God, is going to continue to flow in our life as we fear the Lord.